Okay, so we're actually outside today, and we're gonna be walking 3 whole miles. 3 whole miles. Isn't that awesome? And I don't know. So, before I even started this, I said that I was gonna talk about revenge, and I hope that I'm not too quiet to be heard. But I was having a conversation about revenge with one of my friends. It wasn't really like a conversation. It was more like, me saying that I'm gonna talk about revenge and then actually talking about it. So, I'm trying to gather my thoughts a little bit. I guess I want to start by actually talking about like whether or not something is actually even your fault. Because a lot of people allow themselves to feel guilt and you punish yourself. A lot of people punish themselves for stuff that really isn't their fault. Like, if somebody is being mean to you or they're doing something that is weird, but you can't exactly prove that it's super weird yet, a lot of people are like, okay, I'm just going to avoid that person. There's no need to get confrontational. There's no need to this. There's no need to that. And it's like, to a certain extent, yes, I agree. When I think about stuff like revenge, I'm like, it should never take more effort to get revenge than it does to like ignore the person. If it takes more effort to ignore the person than it does to just do something to make them stop, then you should do something to make them stop. Instead of you being the one who has to bear the burden, make other people bear the burden for their own actions. An example of this, of what I'm talking about, is my sister. She would steal my clothes all the time. So it doesn't make any sense for me to look at this situation and be like, well, I tried to lock all my clothes up first, right? I put everything in a lock. She broke the shit. She broke it open, broke the lock on it, and she went in there and she got it anyways. So at that point, it's like, what's the point? Then, when I would still keep relocking my stuff, I put one lock on both parts where even if you took one off, you can't take the other one off. Then she got my little sister to come and ask me for things, and then she would come right back behind her and ask me for things, trying to be messy. And at that point, it's like, I'm doing everything in my power to keep her away from my stuff, to keep her from stealing my stuff, to keep her from lying to me. At some point, you just have to man up and start hitting people in the face. She walked around the house with one of my shirts on one day. I was like, take my shirt off. She said no. We started fighting. I don't give a fuck if I won or not. She didn't ever bother me after that. She came every single time that she came up and she asked me for something, I was screaming in her face, no. And then on top of that, anytime there was shit to talk, I would talk shit. When she couldn't find her phone charger, I threw that shit behind her bed. And when I think back about my sister, like, there's been people who have done terrible, awful things to me. And when I think back about some of those people, I always wish, I should have done this. It would have been so easy. It would have given me some catharsis. And I know that this is true because it's the same way with my sister. And eventually she left me the fuck alone. And then when I left, I didn't tell her that I was leaving. That's another part of it. Like, some people do. So, like, my other friend who I was talking to, he was saying that success is the best revenge. And while I do agree, it means nothing if the other person is also successful, because then you just two bitches not caring about shit because you got everything. The thing about some people is that I'm not going to say that it's okay to trip them up, but if they keep tripping you up, because me not having clothes means that I have to keep spending money to go buy new clothes, spending money to go buy new shoes, because you're wearing my shoes and you're stretching them out, you're stealing my shampoo, okay, no, I'm taking your phone charger, you're not going to find this. I can't say anything else that I've done because, not because it's like there's something illegal about it, but it's like, yeah, do things to trip them up. Don't be afraid to be like a bad, petty person because you live in a world full of bad, petty people. So what are you supposed to do at the end of the day other than just sit there and take it? Just sit there and take it all day, every day. Are you really just gonna sit there and take it and just let them do whatever they want? There's no need for that. You have hands, probably. You have at least one hand, statistically, most likely. And even if you don't have any hands, you can hit a bitch over the head with those two stumps. At the end of the day, right, people need consequences to have motivation to do things. A lot of the time, certain people, it's not everybody. Most people, I will say you should just be honest about how you feel. Sometimes people don't understand that what they're doing is wrong. But when it comes to people, like, there was a guy that I got with, right? The only thing he ever wanted was to have a woman underneath him who he could abuse. There's no talking to him that's going to change that. So it's like, yeah, when we were together, do I feel bad for telling him to his face that he's stupid? That all of his ideas about women are dumb? No. I don't give a fuck what happened to me after that. At the end of the day, I hurt his feelings. And I don't have to feel so bad about being mistreated because I know that I made him feel small. I made him feel insecure. For a second, he admitted that he was stupid. He admitted that he was stupid. He admitted that he was dumber than me. He admitted that he was insecure. I got him to say a lot of shit. And that makes me feel good. So I don't have to spend so much time like thinking about, like, that's why I don't really think about him like that. And I don't bring it up all the time. I don't talk about it every day. Because some things that I do bring up all the time and I do talk about every day is stuff like, oh, I don't have any money. And my current ex keeps spending a lot of money on stuff. And every time I tell him to not do that, he gets in his feelings about it. This is a situation that's like currently ongoing, and I just decided to give up. But even in this situation, it's like, well, I don't have to feel okay. I think the crux of what I'm getting at is that if you allow yourself to have pent up emotions, like, I do not allow myself to even have pent up emotions about anything. And sometimes closure is not possible, right? Sometimes closure is not possible. But if that's the case, you need to let it out. You need to let it out physically. Like, a lot of the things that have happened to me, the reason why I'm such a stable person, right? Or the reason why I can get on YouTube and not be like embarrassed and be like, oh, one of these people one day is gonna find me, because I don't care if they find me. At the end of the day, I've already gotten all of that anger and resentment for them out of my body. So now you're just a guy. You're just a guy to me. Or you're just a girl. You're just an ex. One of many. So it doesn't matter. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to do anything about it. I don't have to like sit here and pretend like, oh, but to each their own. Peace and love everybody. No, I don't have to peace and love wash myself and make myself seem like, sometimes it's okay to feel the way you feel. And as a society, we shouldn't be discounting each other's feelings for the sake of like getting better and like self-help. That doesn't make any sense. On a basic level, right? If somebody does something to you that you don't like, and you don't have the power to stop them, how does that feel? How did it feel every day growing up when your teacher would tell you that there is something the fuck wrong with you because you don't know how to sit down and shut up? And you took that entire line of thinking and thought, this is a messed up, rude thing to say to a child. But you had no power. And you had no mental fortitude to step outside of the lines and say, I'm not going to let you talk to me like this. That's what they want. That's what the whole greater structure of society is about. It's about keeping people down. Why do you think like the most insane, crazy people are some of the most famous people out there? Do you think that they don't know how to properly hold a grudge? Because there's a right and a wrong way to properly hold a grudge. Everything is useful. Every emotion is useful. They allow themselves to feel their full emotional range. And to a stunted person, you look crazy. You look erratic because they're constantly, like, at most normal people are constantly repressing everything that they feel, everything that they think, everything that they want. That's why the vast majority of people don't make it as an artist, because you can't be a good artist if you're repressing things. Because the entire point of art is not to repress, is to let everything out, let everything flow, let yourself be. So it'll never happen to you if you're constantly sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not allowed to feel this way because somebody else might be upset, and I'm not allowed to do this because it might bother somebody else. It shouldn't matter who it bothers. It shouldn't matter anything about that. Because at the end of the day, when you die, you're only going to have you. Even if you're surrounded by people who were there for you, who love you, when you go alone. You close your eyes by yourself and you drift into darkness by yourself. Nobody can accompany you on that. So at the end of the day, things should be more about like sustaining your inner world. Because that's all you have. Once you go, where do you think you go? You go to your inner world. That's what I think, at least. Because if we're supposed to believe that, you know, everything that you think, like, I'm trying to think, what's the saying that people will constantly say? Like, if you think about it enough, it'll happen. And, you know, whatever you focus on is where you'll be. Stuff like that. It's all true. So at a core level, you shouldn't want anything inside of you that's going to turn you into like a docile person who can't speak up for themselves, who can't do for themselves. They should be the opposite of your goal. This is a long walk. On a golf trail or something. I don't know. But yeah. I'm just trying, I think she was on the phone, so I'm just trying to not be super, super rude. Like, you don't have to be, it's the same thing when it comes to like self-expression. Like, you see how there's people all around me and I've still been yelling. I'll get louder when there's less people, but I won't stop talking just because somebody's right there, because you're not gonna hear me forever. I'm walking this way and a lot of people aren't gonna go around this whole trail, but I am, because bitch, I need to work out and my knees hurt. So, like, there's no point in me, like, that would be me making up a reason in my own head to feel bad for speaking when it doesn't even matter. It's not even that serious. And she's gonna probably move on and forget that she even walked past me today. Dressed like this. Just like this. In full pink. My big 5'7" ass. So, it doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter. Because at the end of the day, right, most people just aren't thinking about you in the first place. And most people will forget everything that you do. And the people who will remember everything that you do are people who choose to invest in you. Or you did something that forced them to have some emotional response where they get stuck in a thought loop. And so they keep coming back to you for closure. But either way, those two things, it doesn't really concern you necessarily. There's some people parked up here in a golf van on the trail. I hope that they move so that I don't have to deviate from the trail path. I should get a bike and come here more often. But no. So now that we have sort of established that the thing about revenge isn't necessarily that it's bad, it's the effect that it has on you and your body. And sometimes it's the right thing to do for like emotional release and stuff like that. Like, sometimes it's just not the evil boogeyman thing that people make it out to be. And sometimes it can be mentally beneficial. Because not everything that's beneficial for you is necessarily going to be something that brings immediate peace and brings immediate joy and happiness. Sometimes the things that are beneficial for you are going to make you angry at first. How does it feel when you get sick and you have to go to the doctor and they have to stick a piece of cotton all the way in your nose, you could get hurt from that, but nobody will tell you to not go to the doctor if you're sick. We all understand that the risk of going to the doctor and possibly getting misdiagnosed or, medical malpractice, the risk of that is low, and it's a lot less than the risk of you staying sick forever and dying. So as a society, we normalize this risk. We don't do that when it comes to things like things that would mostly regulate your feelings, or things that would regulate your emotions. People don't really think about it like that when it comes to stuff like that. They think that everything like that is bad because the whole point of all of this stuff is that you can't speak for yourself. You can't talk for yourself. So somebody around you, typically your father or a parental figure, can easily tell you what to do. You being told not to be a vengeful person isn't about anything other than the patriarchy and societal structures. Because guess what? Haven't you noticed that every single movie, not every single movie, but a lot of the movies that are like male focused, male dominated, what happens in those movies? They're typically a revenge story, right? Something will happen to the women in this guy's family and he'll go on a journey to go murk all of these people. Or in a lot of these like gangster films and stuff like that, like mafia films and stuff like that, what's happening? People are living off of the feeling of getting revenge, of getting their lick back, of being the powerful one, being the dominant one. So think about it like this. Let's say that you are the mean, bad person with ill intentions for everybody around you in your life. And let's say that you are not stupid. You're not this way because you're unintelligent. Let's imagine that the evil people in this world are not evil because they're unintelligent, but because they simply do not care how you feel. So if you could convince everybody around you to do what you said, how would you go about that? You would first start by telling them to never listen to themselves. Don't listen to that voice in your head that's telling you that what this person is doing to you is wrong, that it's immoral, that it doesn't make any sense. Don't listen to that. Because if they listen to that, what are they going to think about you? That what you're doing is immoral, that it's wrong, and they're going to stand up for themselves. Or they're going to do little things that stop you from being able to just do whatever you want. Think about most people who have kids. You wouldn't want to teach your child that revenge is okay. Why? Because it makes them harder to control on a base level. That's what it is. It makes them harder to control. And then being a child, they may take the wrong idea. They may not be able to regulate their emotions properly. When you're growing up, people teach you not to respond. And it's not necessarily because they want to control you, but it's because it's important for your development as a child into an adult. If as a child, think about this, if as a child you're allowed to do whatever you want to people and nobody ever tells you that you're wrong. Nobody ever tells you that you're mean for it. And you're allowed to just do whatever. And when somebody does something to you, you're expected to do something back. Expected, encouraged, praised. What kind of person do you think that would create? It would create a person who does not care about other people. And when you look around at a lot of these men who are allowed to do everything except feel empathy, except cry, except have that inner voice, what do? They look around at everybody else and they get off on making you cry, making you sad, having that power over you, because power is addictive. If absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the people on the top know that, why would they not tell you at the very bottom that revenge is the worst thing that you could possibly do, that violence is the worst thing that you could possibly do? Revenge and violence is the only thing that can stop a person who doesn't care about how you feel, who has no empathy, who can't be reasoned with, who will continue to do the things that make you unhappy until they physically can't anymore. And everything that I'm saying comes from life experience of being around people like this, of seeking out people like this. Because I'm not gonna lie, I put myself in a lot of dangerous situations just so that I can understand other people. Because there was a time in my life where I realized that I really don't understand anybody. I don't understand how anybody else thinks other than myself. And that was a horrible thing. That was when I was like 18, 19. I realized that I was like, okay, well, I'm always saying that, nobody gets me, but I don't get anybody else. And I started to realize that there's levels and layers to every aspect that you can have. Just same way that we all have different skin tones. Even all Black people have different skin tones. Even within like your own family, both of my parents are two different colors, but they were both the same color at some time, and they've changed colors over their life. My dad has very little empathy for anybody who isn't him. That's not to say that he can't cry, but something within his set of beliefs doesn't allow him to feel empathy or to cry. It's the masculinity. I've talked to him about this before because I did try to understand my own father. I'm not that out of touch. He's my dad. I might not like him. I might not agree with the way that he chose to raise me. But at the end of the day, he's the only father that I have. And me being able to understand him as much as I possibly can, because I'll never be able to fully understand another person, but me being able to understand him as much as I possibly can has helped me a lot in being able to understand a lot of other men. Because if I can know that what he did to me wasn't because he hated me, it's because he felt he had the right to do it and that I deserved it. And that these are the things that led him to believe that. And the reason why I felt so afraid to speak up is because I didn't feel like I had the right to do that. And I was led to believe that he didn't deserve it. And so that's what I'm trying to undo for everybody else who might be anything like me. I'm not telling you to fully engulf yourself in negative emotions until you can't think about anything positive, or until you can't rationalize what the right thing to do in certain situations are. And I'm not telling you to be so angry and be so... Huh? Oh. And I know that everything should be like... And that threw me off. I thought that dude was talking to me, but he's on the phone. See, like, everybody's on the phone out here. And everybody's talking. Everybody's just kind of vibing. Like, if somebody steps into your world, right, and they're messing with you, like... I'm trying to think of specific situations because I know it's a lot easier to rationalize these things when you have like a specific example. But I don't want people to get too caught up in the examples, because at the end of the day, the base of what I'm saying is treat people the same way that they treat you. You should not be thinking, oh my God. You should not be thinking in terms of deserving punishment or not. You shouldn't be thinking about things in terms of how this is gonna like turn me bad on the inside. Because if you believe that, then that's what'll happen. I believe that if somebody does something to me, they deserve it, and I have the right to do something back to them. Now, that thing should not be over what they did. If somebody steps on my toe, I don't feel the need to do anything. I feel the need to maybe kick them in the back of the leg, okay? If it was on purpose, you step on my toe on purpose, I'm kicking you in the back of the leg. That's fair. You're not gonna die. I'm not gonna kick you harder than you kicked me, right? But the thing is, it's the same way, like, our criminal system is not fair. And what is the major complaint? That certain people get less time for crimes than others. Certain people can pay their way into things. Okay, so if you know that the justice system is not fair, do you not think that certain people are going to use that to their advantage? I have seen many of people fighting, and then they'll go to court and they'll fight in the court. They'll provoke that person, and the judge will get the person who was provoked into doing something instead of the person who was doing the provoking. So you have to be smart. You have to be smart. You have to be sneaky. And you have to seek revenge. You have to seek punishment for things that are done to you on purpose. And the purposeful part is always the part that trips people up, because nobody wants to be a bad person to somebody who is doing something to them accidentally. And that's why I say, I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to people. You should talk to people. You should go up to them. You should say, hey, don't do this. They do it again. Listen, if you keep doing this, I'm going to do this back to you. I'm not threatening you. I'm warning you that this will happen because I don't like this. Okay, now that they know, you've already told them twice. What is stopping you that third time from doing what you said that you were going to do? From making things even, making things right. Because you know that that's the right thing to do. You know that that's what you have to do to keep yourself stable, to keep your mentality at peace. Because what's going to happen when you don't? You know they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. They're going to keep doing it until you say something about it. And it might make them feel bad. But that bad feeling is temporary. That bad feeling can be talked through. Like, I know a lot of people who have bad families, right? One of my exes, she had what she self-described as an abusive family. And she told me how they would put their hands on her and they would degrade her and they would do this and do that. And it was awful and she hated it. And I would be like, I was letting her stay with me because I understand exactly what that's like. I don't know if they want me to grab it or not. They almost hit me with a golf ball. Sure. See, stuff like that. Because now I'm inclined to say something. But I'm not gonna. So I don't think it was on purpose. And I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, it's just a golf ball. You don't have to respond to every little thing. That's not what I'm saying. Like, reserve your energy. But when it's something in life where, like, somebody's stealing from you repeatedly, and every time you tell them to stop, they don't. Every time you tell them how you feel, they don't care. Or worse, they pretend. They pretend to listen. They pretend to care. I know plenty of people who will pretend to care and pretend to listen and pretend like they're gonna change. So if you don't see that happening effectively, like the next day they get up and you ask them the same question that you asked them last night and they have a different response. A week goes by and they're doing the same thing that you told them that you would break up with them for. They're cheating on you. They're lying to you. They're sneaking out. You just feel some type of way. This is not a person that you should have around you in your life. This is a person that you need to get rid of for your own sanity. And the reason why I can say this is because I made the same mistake. I made the mistake of being so forgiving and not wanting to be the mean, evil, nasty person, not wanting to manipulate people, when in reality, it's not manipulation if you say everything clearly. It's not lying if you say everything clearly. It's not revenge. It's consequences for your actions. If I already told you what I was going to do in response to your behavior and you still decide to do it, it's on you. It's not an attack. It's not revenge. It's consequences. And it's the right thing. It's just. It's life. That's how life goes. You can't expect to be one of these people who piss people off and do all of these things that you know that you're not supposed to do to them. You can't be one of these people who are constantly going around talking shit about your friends and talking about people close to you who never have anything nice to say and who can never be told anything. You can't expect this not to catch up to you. You can't expect people to not want to do something to you or to get their revenge, because at the end of the day, other people have feelings too. You don't live in this world alone. You didn't come in alone. You won't leave alone. You didn't come in alone, but you will leave alone if you keep acting like that, and you will leave alone anyways. So you need to make sure, for all of the people on the other side of this conversation who don't really give a fuck, who are thinking, well, what I did is fine and nobody needs to do anything to me. Really think about it though. Really think about if you provoke somebody, because you don't know, you'll never know. Things can go wrong around you. That's what karma is. That's what karma is. Because if you want to take the logical approach to life, right? Okay, God's not real. There's no God. There's no karma. There's no boogeyman. There's no Santa Claus. There's no Queen of England. So what could karma possibly be? Karma is people around you responding to your energy, responding to the way that you act. If you're an asshole and you walk into a Starbucks and you're like, I want this, that, and the third in my coffee, and when you get it, you tell them they didn't make it right, and then when you get it again, you tell them they didn't make it right again, and you pour it on the floor, what do you think is going to happen? The manager's going to come kick you out because this is fast food. This is not a 5-star restaurant. You don't have the right to be doing all of this. If you do that in a nice enough restaurant, what do you think the chef's going to do? The chef's going to come kick you out because you're disrespecting his food. You're disrespecting the establishment. You're causing a scene. My sister has done this for quite some time, where she has just not cared about what anybody else had to say or think or feel. Now, this past year, or no, the year before that, I don't know, one of these, for her birthday, nobody wanted to celebrate her birthday. I don't even remember if anybody told her happy birthday. I didn't tell her happy birthday. Not after all she did to me. And people can call it petty. People can sit here and be like, that's your family, that's your family. No, because if she was family, she wouldn't have treated me like that. If she wanted me to tell her happy birthday, she should have been nicer to me. If she wanted me to get her something for her birthday, she should have been nicer to me. I'm not obligated to go out of my way to bend myself and crane my neck and throw it back and show everybody stuff that they don't need to see, just so that they can be happy and do whatever they want. But when it comes to me doing whatever I want, all of a sudden that's a problem. No. So I'm not going to be listening, and neither should you listen to anybody who tells you that you need to do something. Because people will tell you not to be vengeful in one breath, and tell you not to hold a grudge, and tell you not to do this. But then they'll also tell you to just be impossibly loving, impossibly giving all the time. You need to cook, and you need to clean, and you need to do that and do this. And I'm pretty sure it's because I'm a woman that people would do this to me. People expect me to be the nurturing force in their lives. But the thing is, I am not a nurturer. I'm a very domineering type of person. You're not going to get along with me if you're sitting here thinking that you're just going to come up in my space and tell me what to do and it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Because I am not this type of stereotypical patriarchal woman who's going to do these things. I don't care. I've been booted out of the systems for being black since I was born. So why would I buy into it as an adult just because people find me attractive all of a sudden? I don't care. It's not going to change what I think. And it's not going to change the fact that if you're an asshole, you deserve everything coming to you. And anybody telling you otherwise is a dangerous person. And they don't have good interests in mind for you. They don't have anything good for you. They don't have anything good for you. The only thing that they have to offer you is control. And you should not want to be controlled by anybody else. You should seek to control yourself. Self-discipline, right? Discipline is supposed to be this end-all, be-all, amazing thing for everybody, where if you can discipline yourself enough, then you can get the things that you want in life. You can become the person that you want. You can do the things that you want. You can go the places that you want. You can make the friends that you want if you just have enough discipline. You can get abs. You can get good grades. You can get scholarships. Free ride to college. But you have to have discipline. And where does that come from? It doesn't come from listening to everybody else and thinking about what everybody else has to say. Hello. I like your bike. But yeah, it doesn't come from thinking about what everybody else has to say and thinking in terms of how other people think. It comes from within. So you have to decide. Because the thing is, right, for me at least, I feel incredibly silly all the time. I feel incredibly silly and incredibly all out of place everywhere I go, all the time, no matter what it is that I'm doing. But you see how I'm on this trail right now, talking about nonsense, dressed in full pink, in these spiky ass boots. and I'm just walking and I'm just not caring. I'm not thinking about how embarrassing it is to be holding a phone up to my face in public and being kind of loud, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be here forever. It's not like I'm standing here for 3 hours. I'm on a walk in a public place. Everybody else is loud. Everybody else is talking. And at the end of the day, look, nobody has said anything to me. Nobody has done anything to me. So there's no need of me being insecure. It's the same way for, like, if somebody does something to you, people get stuck in that fear of what will happen to you and your mentality, fear of what you will become, fear. You have to stop living in fear. Stop living in fear of other people. Stop living in fear of yourself. And stop, I don't know, you have to stop being afraid to just act on some of your impulses. Because do you think they're not acting on their impulses? They're acting on every impulse they have, and they don't care how they look. And at the end of the day, who are the people that we like the most? Who are the people that you love the most? Typically, you love people who are outspoken, who are funny, and people who will stand up for you if something happened to you. How many of us have friends, right, where something happened and your friend just completely took the other person's side because they had more to gain from siding with that person than they did with you? I have a friend, right, and she has an ex. She has a boyfriend. Her boyfriend is white. Her boyfriend was saying a bunch of racist stuff during Black History Month. I spoke up, she didn't. Why? Because that's the only person she has to live with, and that's her boyfriend. She doesn't get anything out of respecting her race and, other things like that. It just wasn't a big deal to her. She didn't care, because at the end of the day, that's not going to pay her bills. It's not going to pay her bills. It's not going to put food on the table. She didn't feel bad. She didn't feel bad about him saying racist things to me, about him putting me down. She didn't care about our friendship, the years that we've spent together before she met him. She didn't care. So it's like, why should I care, right? Why should I even think about her? Why should I even be her friend? A lot of people in that situation would still be that person's friend. And I am her friend, but I don't talk to her. I talk to her like once a year, maybe twice a year, if that. I haven't talked to her at all this year. And we're in March. Today is March the 1st. So, yeah, it's like, is that easy? Do I feel bad? No. Why do I not feel bad? She knows what she did wrong. Did she apologize? Yes. Am I still not really going to be her friend? Yeah. She knows what she did wrong. I don't have to forgive her. I don't have to think about her anymore, because I know that every time I call her, the situation is not going to have changed. She's still going to be living with this guy. This guy is still going to be saying these things, especially when I come on the phone. How do I know that? Because I did come on the phone even after that. I didn't immediately cut her off. I was like, you know what? Maybe we should still be friends. I shouldn't throw away the whole friendship. But then I realized, no, every time I get on the phone, he's going to do this. Why? Because he doesn't like me. Why? Because I'm Black. And your girlfriend would rather talk to me than talk to you because you're boring. So every time he gets on the phone, what did he do? He wanted me to leave. How did he get me to leave? He insulted me every single day because he knew that she wouldn't say anything. He exercised his power over the situation. And I picked up on that. Now, me being the type of person that I am, when I'm talking about revenge, what I could do is continue to call her every day. And every time he says something, just be like, sure. And you're this. And you're that. And you're this. And you're that. But the thing was, I started it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go. But if I didn't start it, best believe I'm not losing my friend over what you said. But at the end of the day, I started it. So I can't do all of that because that's unnecessary. And at the end of the day, why am I trying so hard to be friends with somebody who doesn't want to be friends with me? You have to know your value. Like, when you do get your revenge, you have to consider all aspects. You shouldn't just consider how it's going to make you feel. You should consider the entire situation. There's no reason for me to get revenge in this situation when I was the one who started the problem because I was insulting him first. And at the end of the day, she didn't care. She didn't care. So why do I want to be friends with somebody who does not care how I feel or does not care about me in that capacity? And it also is my fault. So what gives me the right to go and do something Like, when somebody did something to me in response of what I did to them, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to go and try to be a vengeful person about that. Because, bitch, you started it. So, to a certain extent, yes, revenge is not always the answer. It's not always appropriate. The same way that anger is not always appropriate. The same way that sadness is not always appropriate. The same way that happiness is not always appropriate. But there's a time and place for every single action and every single thing. And so you shouldn't let it bog you down, like whether or not it is appropriate or whether or not it's not. You should think deeply about it, but if it gets to the point where you just can't stop thinking about it and it's just interfering with your everyday life, that's when it's a problem. And that's when something has to change or something has to give. Because at the end of the day, your life is yours. You're alone in your experience. You're alone in your existence. There isn't anybody coming to save you. There's nobody coming to help you. There's nothing. And when you leave, when you exit, you will exit into nothing. And then you will be born again. So, what does it matter? I don't know. I'm getting a bit too existential. I'm losing the plot. This is a long trail, so it's going to be a long yap session. And I don't even know if my I don't even know if my phone has enough space to store all of this. But at the same time, this is fun. This is fun. So I can keep going. I was also thinking about revenge in terms of because I feel like I've touched on a lot of different things, and I know that I have to repeat myself a lot. But I feel like the repetition of the idea, okay, what is going on with this trail? I am so confused. Okay. It has a bunch of curving paths, I guess, that you can take. But the whole thing is 3 miles. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get to the other side, you know? I'm gonna be out here until 2:30. And I have to figure out how to get to on the other side of this thing, because I'm on a trail right now, right? And I didn't know how long would it take me to walk this trail. I have an hour left and I don't know where I am. And I feel like maybe I should turn around, but at the same time I'm like, I can't be that far, but maybe I should speed up. I don't know. I'm getting scared because if it takes me a long time